I had that feeling today of poking a dead corpse, and then suddenly it springs to life. You're in shock. You can't believe it. It's still alive. That is basically the Bloodlines 2 experience. That's been the experience for the last 5 years or something, because this is a game where every year since like 2019 or 2020 or something, it's been meaning to come out that year, this year. And then it never does. It's always so close, yet so far. Development troubles, promises that aren't delivered, still taking everyone's money throughout with pre-orders. But again, we've heard nothing about this game for months. I think I spoke about it last in like December, November, and there was no news then. I was trying to think of something to talk about to do with this game, but finally, they've spoken. There's new footage. New things are happening. We've got a world map. Amazing things, but as always, must set expectations, because remember, the Paradox CEO himself came out and admitted this is going to be nothing like the original beloved game. He actually shat on the original game and said, are you wearing nostalgia goggles? What are you doing? The original game wasn't even good anyway. What are these supposed fans talking about? The original sucks. Get into the new one, which is nothing like it. Kind of comical when the original, the legacy, the name, the fact it's a cult classic is the only reason this sequel exists, because they're trying to get money from nostalgia fans, but apparently the developers, the CEO of Paradox, none of them actually like the original. They just want to do their own thing, seemingly. Couldn't be because there's just a lack of talent. These people can't actually make a proper RPG. Couldn't be that. But we do have news. Just want to make sure expectations are set. But this news, it's not just a simple development diary like previous ones, which are so boring to talk about because it's a wall of text. Pretty much all of them seem to have been generated by AI. Someone tested that once. They ran their stupid million-word dev diaries through an AI detector, and it said like 98% chance that this crap, this drivel was put together with AI. So I haven't talked too much about the previous 17 dev diaries, but this one actually has video footage and different things in it. So, for instance, we've got a little clip now. Don't get too pumped up. Again, just lower expectations. 20 seconds, this particular video. Bit of combat, staking, the video is called. So there's a little bit of gameplay in there. Bit of animation going on around in the world. It looks like nice and snowy, nice and Christmassy. Got an explanation for you about the Christmas theme in this Bloodline sequel as well. I think that's going to be very interesting. Why the game is set during a Christmas period. We're all wondering about that. And they do have a bit of an explanation for these videos. So they mention here, last time in our previous dev diary, we walked through the streets of our Seattle, exploring its foundations and the world that you'll navigate. I do think I talked about that. That was months ago. Tonight, we're diving deeper into the city, its inhabitants, and the rules that keep everything in check. These rules, the Masquerade, aren't just a suggestion, they are the law. Break them and you might find yourself on the wrong end of a court's assassin's stake. Are they just saying that, or is there actual mechanics to do with this? I have seen, I've looked ahead a little bit, there seemed to be something about like a police system, and they might have just combined the police and Masquerade system together. A little bit lazy, but there is some sort of consequences if you break the rules, it seems, in the game. We've got another video here showing off an ability. So it's a passive, acidic touch. When you kill an enemy by feeding on them, their corpse dissolves, leaving no evidence. Aha! So then the police, the Masquerade, can't find the body. So, very interesting. Is a passive though, so it's not like it's an active ability that you can actually use. It just works, basically. And in fact, it's less work for them because the body just disappears. So, always nice. Saves the developers time. Very, very good. And then we've got Masquerade Madness. In the world of darkness, the Masquerade refers to the efforts made by kindred to conceal their existence from humanity to ensure their survival. This secrecy is vital, as widespread knowledge of their existence would likely lead to a catastrophic response from humans, ultimately resulting in the destruction of kindred society. The Masquerade is enforced by the Camarilla, particularly in Seattle. We don't need a full history lesson. Let's get to the gameplay. What are you doing? In Bloodlines 2, you must maintain the Masquerade. Failure to do so will result in a swift stake through your heart. To help monitor your actions, There is a Masquerade meter at the top of the screen, consisting of the eye symbol. If the eye is open, it indicates that someone is currently watching you. It is best to perform vampiric activities out of sight of human witnesses. Do it in secret. The bars around the eye, these bars fill up when you are caught committing acts that breach the Masquerade. The progression of the bars, there's 3 stages. Upheld, green. Minor infractions, such as being seen jumping abnormally high. Running too fast. Okay then. Caution, orange. Triggered by excessive actions, such as feeding, using violent abilities, misgendering someone. Added that in there. Or accumulating too many minor infractions. Engaged, broken, red. This is really serious. At this stage, the police are actively pursuing you. You must break their line of sight immediately. If the meter fills completely, the Camarilla will take decisive action to end your activities swiftly and mercilessly. So, from what I'm seeing here, it's pretty much just the standard police system sort of stuff we see in most games. If you kill someone out in public, then everyone's going to be after you. If you, like in a stealth game, like, does this happen in Hitman and stuff? Maybe these days, Assassin's Creed, like, you just walk a little bit too fast and suddenly everyone's suspicious of you looking around. It's basically like anxiety simulator where you've got to be careful of the buttons you're pressing and or watch out. If you do the slightest thing in front of anyone, you could be in trouble. Let's see if I mean, there's nothing wrong with the system. It seems fine. And then they've got some more video footage. I feel totally spoiled. I remember the days where we were getting GIFs. We weren't even getting videos at all. There's a character, sexy woman. Christ, what was that, she says? Do we get to see these characters or what's going on? So we're running. Looks like we're running pretty fast. Is the Masquerade going to be after us? It said no running. So we're climbing up a pole, it looks like. Bit of Dishonored. It maybe feels like we're on the rooftops. A lot of people have come up with the Dishonored comparison for this game. It's not going to be anywhere near Dishonored in quality, but maybe there's some comparisons around just gameplay, around the style they're going for. We'll see. So if we go back, you can see a little bit of the open world, I guess. You can see a few shops and so on, because this is going to be relevant, because there aren't actually hubs, it seems like, in Bloodlines 2. Like, it is pretty much just an open world broken into sections. And then I guess there's going to be levels in amongst that or something, it seems like. I don't think all the gameplay takes place in an open world, from what they've said in the past. And they mention Fire's job as sheriff. As sheriff, the Nomad has a duty to keep the peace. That includes stamping down on any outside attempt to breach the Masquerade. With the court's control of the city in jeopardy, other factions are starting to let the chaos bleed out from the alleys and into the streets. The police, under the thumb of the Camarilla, are a reactive force, not a preventative one, when it comes to kindred affairs. From a gang causing trouble in a graveyard to an outright assault on one of the city's most public places, groups like the Anarchs can sense the rift among those in power and they'll leap to action. Alright, we've had enough of that. Masquerade of Seattle, NPC breach. What could this be? So fortunately, we're going at a normal snail's pace now, the character, so no one's going to be after him for too much running. And what are we doing here? What's the purpose then? So we're crouching, wandering. Okay, so we're looking at the action, it seems. There's a bit of a fight going on. We're hiding in the shadows. Are we going to spring into action here? No? So we're just watching the fight. Okay, so we're watching that there's a bit of reactivity in the game. NPCs aren't just idle, standing around, doing nothing. We're able to stalk and catch our prey, essentially. Feed. That's basically it. I guess that's the purpose of the video. Districts of Seattle. Now, this is juicy. This is where we find out a bit more about the game's sort of structure, what we're going to be doing. Hey, Bloodline fans, let's talk about our Seattle. We've split it into 5 districts. Uptown, Downtown, Chinatown, Financial, and Industrial. Each one has its own vibe, quirks, and dangers. This city doesn't sleep, and you'll be hunting at its heart. All districts connect into one seamless space, so that's a big one. So he talks about 5 districts, but they're not like 5 different hub worlds like in the original game, which is a shame. I mean, I'm never going to be expecting this game to even be like the original Bloodlines anyway, so even if there were hub worlds, it probably wouldn't matter. But he's just saying it's basically one open world, one seamless space. No unnecessary barriers in between them to break your immersion. I don't know why they needed to say that, because there was nothing immersion breaking about the original. I really liked that you went to different places. It felt like just their own little world. And it just felt like because they were hub worlds, they weren't too big, too cumbersome. Everything was just packed with content. I mean, with the exception of Chinatown, but later in the game, which is a bit rushed, most of the hub worlds just have things right in there for a purpose. So every shop just about you can go into, every house or whatever, every location has a purpose in the game. It feels like a living, breathing world. I highly doubt in this open world you can go into every building. So to talk about immersion breaking, maybe you're not shitting on the original, maybe that's reading too much into it, but come on, like, nothing you're doing is as immersive as the original. You're free to roam, stalk, and keep the Masquerade intact. From alleyways to rooftops, it's your playground or hunting ground. Just don't let the locals catch you doing something unsightly unless you want to be hunted by the authorities. Each district is distinct. Uptown and Financial have skyscrapers to trunk around, while downtown is packed tight and alive. Chinatown glows with lanterns and secrets. Industrial is raw. It's got its warehouses, factories. These layouts shape your experience and strategy. I mean, the only thing is, they say how distinct it all is, but they then have a map of the game. I assume this is the entire game world, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't look huge, but I don't think it needs to look good. I mean, I was just praising the original Bloodlines for being sort of just packed with content in a small space. I think that's good. I think a lot of games miss that now. It's always, oh my god, it's 10 times bigger than the previous entry, but it feels smaller because there's less to do. It's all copy and pasted content, like in every Ubisoft game, that sort of stuff. So I'm fine with a smaller world, but they talk about how distinct it is. I'm just seeing an open world in this map. I'm not really seeing anything distinct. It just looks all samey, basically. That could still be okay. Maybe it's just a visual difference, whatever. But they talked about the skyscrapers and all that. I guess we'll see. Yeah, it looks like here there's about 10 or so different locations. They do mention as well, the deeper you get into the story, the more locations are revealed and open for you to explore, drawing you further into the city's secrets. So, I guess we'll see if it's an open world where from the start you can go to everywhere, or if it's more that the locations are closed and they only open for missions and levels and so on. Maybe these different buildings are the levels in the game. We know that the first sort of opening mission, whatever it is, intro to the game, is set inside a building. I don't know if it's one of these. It looked like more of a warehouse. Can't really see a warehouse here, so we'll see. But it might be that you can't go into the buildings in red straight away. They're locked by story or something. Or it could be that the districts they talked about, they open up as the game progresses. Maybe that would be better, because this doesn't look that big. But then, when you think about it, I can see 15 or so different streets. And that's quite a bit if you compare it to the original game. The little hub worlds probably only had a street or two in them. So if there's actually things to do, it's a fine size, but I just don't think there's going to be a whole bunch to do in this open world. The game looks like it's on a tight budget, but they're just trying to get the thing out. It's not like a passionate endeavor where they're all there. They want to make the best Bloodlines game. I could believe that they want to make a Vampire the Masquerade game that they identify with, but I've seen nothing to suggest they want to make a Bloodlines game, that real sort of RPG. I haven't seen that. They don't seem to care about that. And they continue here saying, Seattle's districts are more than a backdrop, they're alive. Hunt recklessly and you'll feel the heat. Play it too safe and you'll miss what's lurking. Balance is key in this city of shadows. See you out there. Social feeding. We've touched on feeding in the city before, but what does that actually mean? As Spy, you'll have plenty of opportunities to feed, but within the city, feeding expands into a broader set of options. Let's explore them. this is fine, but honestly, I'd like to just know more about the gameplay structure. That's what's missing for me. It's not clear what we're just going to be doing for 15, 20 hours or however long the game is. Like, is it very mission-based, and we sort of use this open world to go to the next mission? Are there a ton of side quests just in the world here, and that'll get it feeling a little bit more like the original Bloodlines? Like, what are we doing? Like, that's important, I think. That's what's missing for me to even be slightly excited. If there was stuff to do in the hub world, maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, I'll give it a try, but don't really know. They haven't talked about that. They always come back to combat mechanics, and now we've got the feeding here. So we've got, oh, it's Sexy Woman again from earlier. She was yelling, but now she's actually here. And, okay then, looks interesting. What is she saying? Why don't we go somewhere and work out for a bit? And now we can feed on her. Okay, so if you're on the controller, use your triggers. I think they've talked about that before. They're saying use the triggers. They're like fangs when you press on them. So, incredible stuff. And there we go, having the feed. Are we breaking the Masquerade? Are we not hidden well enough? Is there a bit of that going on? They talked about, was it the eye? The eye is the interface or whatever that tells you. So we're getting XP for feeding. Is that right? Now we're running away. Cool. So a working animation, and then we saw a bit more of the game. So I've got to say, there's been times in the past where I felt like there wasn't even a game there. Like they built an animation and just put that in a 6-second video. Now there at least seems to be a game. We've got the interface on the screen with a bit of a health bar, it looks like. We've got some abilities. Going to be very console-based, the abilities, it looks like. You're putting 4 of them there. Maybe it'll be different on PC, but I don't think it's going to be a very PC-centric game or any. I think it's going to be like Dragon Age Origins, where the PC version feels almost completely different from the console one. I think those days are pretty much over, except for the odd game like Baldur's Gate 3, to be honest, sadly. But just looking at it, yeah, you've got a whole game, it looks like. It looks like it's there. It's just a question of what is the quality going to be like? That's going to be the big question, I think. So we're getting into wall of text territory. We don't need to read all this. Speaking of alleyways, the Seattle of Bloodlines 2, it's not just a hunting ground. It's a city rich with personality, distinct districts, and diverse population. Okay, thanks. What have we got? A bit of a podcast. We don't need to look at that. Upcoming development diary, the cast of mortals. All right, well, again, I just want to know about the structure of the game, what we're going to be doing. But we'll end with this one, because if you've been feeling a little bit of excitement, you think we're back this game, everyone was questioning it, maybe we're totally wrong, maybe they're going to deliver, it's going to be the opposite of the Veilguard and all this, it's going to be, we thought it was going to be crap, but the developers are going to shock us, they're going to delight us. But then I came across this. I mentioned this earlier. One more thing, someone says here. Personal preference. Where did the idea come from that a game about vampires would take place during Christmas? Snow, lights, sentimentality, chicks showing no skin. I know it was in the Mitsoda build from Heartsuit Labs. Like, it was always Christmassy, even when it was with the other studio. But I'm still not convinced. And then someone uncovered here, the mindset for those decisions is articled in Pinchbeck's blog. And Dan Pinchbeck, he was either at the Chinese room previously, he might still be there, I can't remember, but he's had a bit to do with this game. He was pretty senior at the Chinese room. So we're not talking about old studio or an old build of the game. This is the Chinese room here. And this person says, Vampire the Masquerade is special even for an RPG. It's incredibly rich and deep. It's morally and ethically complex. It combines modern politics with ancient supernatural evil. It's biblical. It's personal. It's queer. It's queer. It's queer. It just screams the Chinese room and everything we've always tried to embed in our games. When the opportunity to pitch for it came up, it was Dan Pinchbeck catnip. So he went in there saying it's going to be queer, it's going to be modern politics. Incredible. I was confident we could deliver. We'd been scaling up and bringing on more and more people with serious development chops and history. I knew I wanted to write the story too. We'd never been a studio that were going to finish someone else's work. So this is the Chinese room ethos. This is what they believe in. It's what they're going for. Again, unfortunately, I don't think the Chinese room cares too much about the original Bloodlines whatsoever. They just want to make their own Vampire the Masquerade. Again, this guy who was really senior at the Chinese room, it doesn't sound like his motivation for pitching had anything to do with the original Bloodlines. It was just an opportunity to work on Vampire the Masquerade. So let's see. We could be coming into the final stretch. Maybe it's going to come out. Is there a release date? I can't even remember. I honestly don't care. It's just going to come out at this point, and we'll get the word of mouth. How is it? How's it looking? Maybe we get a few more dev diaries, then it releases, and we can finally give judgment. Wait and see. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.